In the year 1968, the discovery of a vast oil field on Alaska's North Slope marked the beginning of a transformative era. Faced with the challenge of transporting this newfound wealth to market, oil companies initially contemplated the construction of a pipeline to the port city of Valdez. However, the prohibitive costs involved prompted a shift in focus towards investigating a shipping route to connect with the American Eastern Seaboard, an unexplored pathway with commercial potential. This endeavor led to the reconstruction of the SS Manhattan, an oil tanker specially redesigned to endure the harsh conditions of the northern waters. If successful, the SS Manhattan would achieve the historic feat of becoming the first commercial cargo ship to navigate these challenging routes. The journey commenced in September, as the vessel sailed down the Delaware River and ventured northward to Baffin Bay. The early stages were characterized by calm waters and favorable conditions, enabling the ship to reach Thule Air Base in Greenland without incident. However, the true test awaited them upon entering the Arctic archipelago. In one of the harshest environments on Earth, cold, windy, and lacking adequate emergency services, the SS Manhattan made slow but steady progress over several months, ultimately reaching the shores of Alaska. This achievement, while historic, triggered a dispute between Canada and the United States regarding the legal status of the waters they had navigated. The disagreement brought international attention to the importance of these waters. Canada asserted that they should be considered internal, allowing for comprehensive regulation of shipping, fishing, and environmental activities. In contrast, the United States, along with other nations, argued that these waters should be deemed international, akin to the Taiwan Strait and Turkish Straits. The evolving dynamics of this trade route gained relevance with the melting of Arctic ice, culminating in the first ice-free summer in recorded history in 2007. Canada, responding to the changing landscape, elevated the Arctic's priority in its domestic policy agenda. Massive investments were announced by the Prime Minister, focusing on infrastructure and shipping to fortify Canada's claim to the high Arctic. Simultaneously, the United States asserted its commitment to safeguarding the freedom of navigation in the world's oceans, signifying a new era of strategic engagement in the Arctic, with emerging threats and opportunities. The crossing of the SS Manhattan underscored the significance of this route, drawing parallels to historical attempts to navigate the Northwest Passage dating back to the 1400s. The quest for a northern passage was driven by the economic potential of establishing a shorter route for transporting valuable commodities like spices from East Asia to Europe. However, until Roald Amundsen's successful attempt in 1903, no one had found a safe route through the treacherous waters. Despite the proven existence of the Northwest Passage, the economic viability remained elusive, especially with the construction of the Suez and Panama Canals, providing alternative routes. The unpredictable nature of sea ice thwarted dreams of transforming the passage into a practical trade route. The SS Manhattan's attempts to navigate during winter failed, leading oil companies to opt for building a pipeline instead. Yet the event planted a seed that germinated into public debate. Canada responded by passing laws to regulate shipping in its Arctic zones, reinforcing its claim to internal waters. The United States, closely monitoring the situation, formally disputed Canada's claim, emphasizing the vital role of freedom of navigation in its global naval activities. The dispute became a challenging aspect in the historically amicable relations between Canada and the United States. Environmental concerns became a focal point for Canada, driven by the desire to protect the fragile Arctic ecosystem and the Inuit population reliant on the region for their food supply. In contrast, the United States prioritized maintaining freedom of navigation globally, fearing that conceding to Canada's claim might set a precedent for other countries. A parallel dispute unfolded on the other side of the Arctic, where Russia rapidly militarized the Northeast Passage, hugging its coastline. The U.S., already aware of this in the 1980s, sought to address these concerns through an agreement on Arctic cooperation between Canada and the United States. While the agreement resolved practical issues, it left sovereignty questions unanswered, effectively agreeing to disagree. Canada, however, persisted in asserting its claim, supported by the Inuit population's historical connection to the region and legal arguments based on international agreements. The United States cited its own legal perspectives, emphasizing transit passage for straits used for international navigation. As the Northwest Passage gained economic potential, the melting of sea ice opened new opportunities for the region. The potential for an annual revenue boost of $3 billion passage for cruise ships, and the development of a thriving tourism sector became a possibility. However, the discussion on granting sovereignty to local populations became increasingly heated. In recent years, commercial transits through the Northwest Passage, such as the MS Nordic Horizon and the luxury cruise ship Crystal Serenity, highlighted the economic benefits. Canada's significant investments in infrastructure signaled its readiness to defend its claim. However, a reality check is necessary. The U.S. Department of Defense estimates that the passage will only be nearly ice-free during summers in the 2040s, still presenting challenges and dangers due to shifting ice. The number of ships transiting the passage remains relatively low, mostly undertaken by icebreakers and small adventure vessels. Commercial traffic has not witnessed a significant increase, indicating that the route is still far from becoming a regular shipping corridor. Nevertheless, the Earth's warming trend suggests that the Northwest Passage will become increasingly valuable and relevant, with implications for global trade. Among the unresolved issues is the dispute in the Beaufort Sea, where Canada and the United States lack a clear maritime boundary. The region's significance to oil companies further complicates matters, impacting agreements on search and rescue operations, an area where both countries are currently under-equipped. For Canada, the pressing need is cooperation on environmental issues to protect the Arctic ecosystem and the traditional way of life for those living along the passage. The long-standing relationship between Canada and the United States, rooted in trust and cooperation, holds the key to resolving this complex dispute. Both nations must navigate the challenges to secure favorable terms, balancing economic interests with environmental stewardship. In conclusion, the journey of the SS Manhattan in 1968 not only marked a historic achievement, but set in motion a series of events that continue to shape the geopolitics and environmental considerations of the Arctic region today. The dispute between Canada and the United States over the Northwest Passage reflects the intricate balance between economic interests, environmental preservation, and the rights of indigenous populations. As the world watches the Arctic evolve, the resolution of this dispute will hinge on the ability of these two nations to collaborate, leveraging their historical relationship and mutual interests for a sustainable future in the changing Arctic landscape.